Welcome to Mastering the Art of Success. I'm your host, Debbi DiMaggio. We are here today with Krystal. I'm going to let her pronounce her last name. Let's welcome Krystal. Hi, sweetie. How are you?
So good. How are you? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you on the ground and not in a helicopter, which we will dive deep into that. So Krystal and I met through a mutual friend, Ellie Shoha, who was on an episode a couple months back. And Ellie is our mutual friend and book coach. And we will get into what your book is about later in the show. But let me properly introduce you, and then we will launch into all of my questions. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Yeah,
Krystal is a
thank you.
global story. You're welcome. Krystal is a global storyteller, brand strategist, and photographer who has worked in over 60 countries, helping mission driven brands create lasting impact and loyal audiences. For nearly 2 decades, she's worked behind the scenes with some of the world's most recognized organizations, from Disney and NASA to UNICEF and world renowned musician Yanni, building movements that go beyond marketing campaigns. Krystal's work focuses on helping brands uncover the story that matters most so they can inspire, trust, spark connection, and create legacies that make a meaningful difference in the world. Well, I just love your bio and I love who you are and what you're all about. It just resonates so highly with me. Before we get started, I'd love to find out how you got to where you are today, following your successful journey. And let's start with where you were raised and who Yanni is as well.
Well, thank you so much for the kind introduction. And it's so great to be here. But yes, I guess I've really spent the last 20 years at the intersection of creativity and strategy. And, I started, many, many years ago on the production side, helping various brands really build out their live event spaces. And as I was doing these creative live events, they started turning more global, and I decided to take the leap and start working with my father, Yanni. And so I had the opportunity then to work with him for the last 20 years, which was such a gift in so many ways to really see an organization grow and build and have the opportunity to work alongside my dad in that way throughout like all these different cultures and countries in such an intimate way. So that experience alone shaped so much of who I am today. A lot of my relationships were forged through those travels, and really the basis for my life philosophy and what I do now, which is really helping mission driven organizations grow their message in a meaningful, story led way. And I learned a lot of it just being on the road, traveling the world,
So
working in
let's
these
go
different roles.
back. Let's go
Yes.
back. Not everyone knows who is Yanni. And then you said you worked in his organization. I know Yanni as a very famous flutist, but let's go deeper into that. What did you do for his organization? I think of him as just an individual person, so I don't know what you mean when you say this whole organization and all of the things you did for him. So let's step back there. But before we go
Well,
there, can you tell us where you were raised and and then where you moved after, if you left wherever you were, wherever you started out?
yeah, absolutely. My family's from Greece. I was raised in Minnesota, and then I moved to Los Angeles. So I've been here for like 12, 13 years now, and it's really become home. Feel so lucky. LA's definitely gone through some challenging times the last year, but it's such a beautiful place to live. Amazing. I have amazing community here and so much nature. So I love that too.
I love it. Yes, for sure.
But yeah,
So then
to dive
so
in.
when you started, yeah, to dive in with Yanni and all you did with him to build his brand. Yes, definitely.
So he's an amazing musical genius, truly. He's a remarkable musician, and just the way that he commands music, can tell stories through music alone. He's a composer, but also plays the piano, and has built his career by essentially bringing together the most talented musicians from around the world to play the music that he composed or that he imagined in his mind. And to just see his creative process unfold in real time was pretty amazing. And then to see him find these gems of musicians, like to be able to travel the world with some of the best talent and that he could find was just incredible. I think, not to diverge too far, but my favorite thing about touring is that musicians can't help but play. So no matter where we were, they would be
Mm.
playing and doing something that was like the best thing I've ever heard in my life. But Yanni, as a musician, he's, you know, global. He's one of the few household names that, nobody knows his last name. They just
Right.
goes by Yanni.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Not a lot of talent in the world that has.
Him and Cher share
Yeah.
that.
And so he has definitely created his own brand and his own feeling and philosophy in life. And it's just been awesome to be able to support that and help nurture that and grow that. And a lot of the work that I did was behind the scenes and, producing these events. So we were on the road for like 8 months a year for about 15 years. And
Wow.
it was traditional touring mixed with very unique one-off experiences. So he performed at, in Egypt in front of the Egyptian pyramids,
Wow.
coupled with fireworks being let off to the music on stage. He opened Saudi Arabia to the first men and women in the audience and men and women on the stage to help them bring in music into their culture. Um, so many elements like that. So it was a true honor to be able to work so closely on projects like that that were truly meaningful to the countries and cultures that we were working in. Um, yeah, so that's kind of a high level view, but he definitely, we were doing some extensive touring. I was helping to brand the message, market it so that people knew that we were there and get people to the shows. And then ultimately cultivate the fan base. And that's really where I learned the power of a raving fan
That.
and community.
Wow. And so when you were doing this, I guess there was really no social media. So, right? So how are 15 years ago, or was there social media 15 years ago?
No, I hate to say it, but this was at the beginning of social media. So
Right.
I
So
kind of
how are
always,
you getting, well, two questions. How are you getting the word out before social media? And then what was the message? What was the message you were trying to promote?
so it was actually right at the beginning of social media. So just
Okay.
as it started. So I
Okay.
was at the phase where it was traditional media meets social media. So of course, like the grassroots efforts, why the community was so effort or so important, but we would do like very localized events, making sure that we were having a presence wherever people were that might be interested in Yanni's music, billboards, all like the traditional type of media. And then that's when we really started understanding the power of storytelling through socials and online, and that we could really branch globally. So prior to socials, he wasn't really doing international touring. He was doing global shows, like he did the Acropolis, and everyone's so
Wow.
connected to that, but he wasn't actually touring in those markets. So
Okay.
socials really helped open that ability for us to tour globally.
That's incredible. So YouTube. I'm obsessed now with YouTube. That's all I watch is YouTube. During COVID, I discovered it. So I watch a lot of videos. So are there videos on YouTube now when he was, let's say, in Egypt or Saudi Arabia or any of these beautiful places?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
wonderful. Oh, great. Well, I don't like to research before because I want to have a natural conversation and I'm naturally curious and I didn't want to know. I wanted to ask you all the questions live.
Yeah.
So thank you. That's why I'll be going down that rabbit hole later on this weekend. Um, okay, so can you share a defining moment in your career or life, or let's not say career, just let's start with finishing up with Yanni and that whole 15 years that you spent with your father branding him, a life defining moment when you were on that journey with your father?
Life defining. That's a great question because I feel like there is probably
A lot.
so many. I think just to be all encompassing, it was really just the experience of being able to witness all those cultures in such an intimate way. And then now being able to step back and reflect on that experience and what that taught me and how I get to see certain patterns now because of that experience. If it wasn't for the tour, I wouldn't have gone to most of those locations. Like a lot of the locations I didn't know much about or even knew existed or knew that I would be so connected to them. And so I think just the realization of seeing so much of that all together and in the way that I got to experience it was like that to me is will forever be with me.
Oh, it's incredible. That is just something I would love to do. And you were there and you got to experience the people like right at the core. They were there for you. So it was easy for you to have access to really get to know the people and the cultures. I think that's just incredible. I love that. Well, who have been mentors or influencers or influences who have made the biggest impact on you?
The biggest impact, this, I don't know if this is, um, well, it's the truth. It's my grandmother.
Okay.
Um,
That's mine
she,
too. Uh-huh. Stella.
she, yeah, what is her name?
Stella.
Stella, that's beautiful. Yeah, my grandmother, she just, she's such a light and she's still with me. She's in her mid 90s
Oh,
and
wow.
has just taught me joy. Like
Mhm.
she just is joy. And so it doesn't matter what life has thrown at her, what she's gone through. She's just always been a guiding light of joy and love. And I've just learned so much from her, through her. And yeah, so she's my number one.
I love it because of course, your father is too, but I love that you had someone else that was someone who had a lot of influence in you. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So let's go to what you're doing now as an amazing photographer. Definitely follow Krystal Ann on Instagram. It's incredible. And after this, I'm going to ask if you can share any photos, if you can email me photos, because when I put the clips together, I want to add your incredible photography. So, how did you get started in your photography career, and how did you learn? I take photos, but they're awful. So, can you learn to be a really great photographer? And let's start there, and then we'll dive into all the amazing places you've been.
Thank you. The answer is yes. Anyone can learn. If I can learn, anyone can learn.
Wow.
Photography. It's kind of interesting. It almost found me. So
Wow.
it came through. It came about. It started. It really started for me. It was when I was on tour, and we were in all these remarkable locations. And I started just taking pictures because I'm like, this is amazing. Like I didn't know this existed. Like
Right.
taking the picture and wanting to share that message and just share the story and the experience. And, obviously I had a very cheap, point and shoot camera that did a terrible job, but still it's what I had. And so I'm like, this is amazing. I've been trying to share it with my friends. And of course, that's when social media started taking off. So, or just started. And so I started posting these terrible photos online. And for those of you that know photography, like you can't take concert footage with an
Right.
automatic camera. Like it just doesn't work. It blurs, the light's terrible. Um, and of course, my dad knew that. He saw me walking around with this cheap point and shoot camera, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Like, and he gifted me my first camera, and it's actually I still use it to this day. And it was the best camera on the market. It was beautiful. And I was so frustrated because I didn't know how to use it. I only knew automatic, and that camera only worked in manual. And so I was already so full. I had a, my full-time job, which was, producing and marketing these tours and pulling together, that. And now I had to like learn how to use a new skill. Like, how do I use this camera? So at first I wasn't very happy about it, but I think I'm sure my dad knew what he was doing because it's grown to be the
Wow.
biggest gift in my life. And
Out.
I can't imagine it, can't imagine life without it. So really, I learned on the job and all my mistakes, everything was up for everyone to see. And just working through the process of documenting and wanting to share the story. So it really started to me less of the photography, more of the
Mhm.
story and the message.
Right.
And it's just kind of grown and continued to grow and has really turned into a big blessing and something I love to do.
So when you were, how many more years were you with your father when you were taking those photos, when you had just started taking photos for fun and for the show?
I mean, I think I did it with him for probably 12 years or so.
Oh, okay. So you've been at it. Well, that makes me feel better. Been at it a long time. It was like, did you
Oh,
just
yes.
parlay into this amazing career now that you're doing? Okay. So you practiced for 12 years. Well, it was part of your job too, because you were creating such beautiful content and drawing more crowds, I'm sure. What were some of the more favorite places, or what are some of your favorite places that you shot and you just love a photo from where?
I think one that stands out to me, I was on assignment in Kenya and I just had some amazing interactions with the animals. I just love nature and animals, and they just respond so quickly to you. Like they don't come to life with any like mask or preconceived notions. They just are who they are. And there's one image of mine, I call it Know Thyself, and it's a image of a lion. And it was an
Wow.
encounter that I had with one of the lions in Kenya. And he just, we locked eyes and he started
Wow.
walking right towards me. And I was in like an open air Jeep. And um, the people that I was with are like, don't worry, he can't see you. He just sees a blob. All he sees is a big,
Oh,
blob. And I'm like, no, this animal sees my soul. Like this animal, like knows all of me. Like he knows I can't hide. He sees me.
wow.
And they're like, no, no, it's fine. But he ended up walking like from far away right towards me and he brushed up against the Jeep right where I was. And I'm like hanging out of the Jeep, not moving a muscle because it was intense. It's a lion, it's still a lion.
Yeah.
And he kind of looped around and sat right in front of me, just like 2 yards away, and peacefully sat and crossed his paws one over the other. And he's kind of
Wow.
banged up. And he just gave me this most beautiful gaze and allowed me to take a photo. And
Wow.
that's the photo. It was like, wow, this, no matter what happened to that lion, he'll always remember who he is. And
Wow.
can tell that he had been through the ringer with all the cuts and bruises and scrapes that he
Wow.
had on him. And yet he had such a presence and strength and aura about him that he knew that he was the king of the jungle and
Wow.
he knew his place in life. And I just felt that strength. And it was just a very calm moment, which is interesting because really
Right.
he had all the power and he just
Right.
chose not. So it was an amazing moment, and that will stay
That
with
is
me
a
forever.
that is an incredible story. That brings tears to my eyes. That is incredible. That's going to be a hard story to beat. But do you have any photos like that of um, monuments or of people that you had a great photography session with or snapshot?
Oh yeah. One that comes to mind is actually when I was in India. This is actually the photo that kind of started it all for me and kind of highlighted my why I like to shoot and why I like to share what I'm shooting and photographing is that we were in India preparing for a show and I was looking out of my beautiful hotel room over this, area that was quite desolate and there was like cows and really dusty and kind of some broken down homes. And I just started getting really sad and somber. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I started hearing these two kids like shrieking and giggling and laughing, just having like the time of their life. And they come running out, seeming out like out of nowhere. with a bunch of balloons in their hand and just having a great time. And
Wow.
I just kind of stopped me in my tracks and I started to cry and I took a photo
Mm,
of this. And I actually had done a collaboration with Children's Hospital and they helped me articulate why that moment was so powerful to me. And in their vision center, they ended up doing this. They tested it and they noticed that in the image, 0.58% of the image are the kids, and the
mm,
rest of the image is kind of like the darkness around them.
right.
So what they're suggesting is all we need is 0.58% of love, of kindness, of joy to kind of snuff out the light. And so I guess that's what they mean to me is like that little bit of joy
Right.
just kind of brightened that whole image. And that was just kind of a really powerful moment in photography for me because now that's what I like to draw out and share and remind people that there's that beauty and that kindness also that exists out in the world.
That's incredible. That's a beautiful story. My daughter used to travel when she was growing up. She would do community service for in summer, but she would travel. She went to Africa and Ecuador, and she went to places I would never go. And I was scared because she was so young and she needed to take medication. And don't forget your medication. Of course, now she tells me I think she didn't take the malaria pills or whatever she was supposed to take. I was just petrified that she was going to these places, these third world countries. And she, when she came home and she was saying we were playing soccer in the fields with, these people in Peru, the parasites get to them. So they're short and, their growth is stunted. And she was sleeping in a cot and it was just, bad condition. And I said, Bianca, how do you do it? Like, it makes me cry. And, what is it like to be there? She's like, Mom, they don't know any better and they're very happy. And it reminds me of your story. Like, with all that background of what we see is horrible and sad and depressing, these little kids came out with their balloons having fun because they don't know any different. So that's a beautiful story. And I'll never forget Bianca telling me, Mom, they
Yeah.
don't know any better and they're just happy. And I'm like, okay, that will make me feel better.
Well, maybe there's something that we can learn from kids, right? I think there's
Yes,
something that maybe we forget as we age is that, there's an innate joy in us already. So whether or not they don't know any better or not, there might be something that we can learn from them too.
absolutely. You don't need a lot to find joy and happiness, but love and joy and family. And yes, so I love that. So on that, we're going to go to a quick commercial break and we will be right back with Krystal.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness.
Welcome back to Mastering the Art of Success. We are here with Krystal. She is incredible. She has so much to share with her background. I actually refer to her as the James Bond of women. And we'll get into that in a moment, why I call her that. It's from, if you go to her Instagram now, you might find the photo that reminds me of why I call her the James Bond of the woman's version of James Bond. But let's go into, charity work is very near and dear to my heart, and same with my family. You have been recognized in organizations from Disney and NASA and UNICEF. So tell us about those collaborations or what you were doing with them.
UNICEF, it was actually really special because I got to wherever we were in the world, when there was a UNICEF location, I would take any extra time that we had, and I'd go volunteer with the local chapter and play with the kids and help the teachers. And I really focused on the educational side of the work that they're doing super intelligent with the way that they operate. And so also a portion of the proceeds of my photography now goes back to their educational programming. They just, like I said, have developed such a system that they can reach the most remote areas in the world to help kids have a chance to education, which is so important. So that's really where that stemmed originally, is I just got to work with the local chapters globally. And now I get to do some partnerships with photography that way, and that's been really meaningful.
That's incredible. And so you were there, so it was just accessible for you. You were already there. That's incredible. So let's jump into, you have recently have been on some incredible journeys. How did how were you invited to, or were you hired to go? Let's talk about the first one that I love. Is I don't know, I think you were in the Arctic and you were in a helicopter in the cutest, I would say the cutest outfit. I just wanted the outfit. You were in this black outfit and you looked like you were in a movie scene, and you had your big camera and lens, and you were hanging out of the helicopter going over beautiful scenery. So paint us a picture. I'm very visual. So paint us a picture of well, first tell us how you got into it, how you got there in the first place, and who your chaperones were. Who your chaperones were.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate a good adventure. That was a lot of fun and an amazing story to tell. So that actually was a collaboration with IMAX, Visionero, and the military. And we were in Alaska, and we were really featuring the beauty of Alaska and like the vastness and the rolling hills and the water and the whales and the terrain out there is just amazing, and as well as how it's very unforgiving and challenging and poses all kinds of issues and challenges throughout the year. Um, Coupled with featuring this, like the synergy between the military and the locals, and how they really rely on each other to survive and get through the winters and navigate difficult situations. And so really being able to see that firsthand, how the military brings aid, and then how grateful the locals are for this aid and service. But oftentimes, the military might get stuck in that village that they're helping, so they might have to stay in the homes that they're of the local village. And so it's a collaborative effort between the military and the locals and navigating this terrain. And so we got to go in and help tell that story and kind of feature the work that they're doing there, and the importance of aviation in Alaska and how challenging that can be. And that's why I was in a lot of those helicopters that you saw. Um, One hanging out to capture the magnificent and the majesty of Alaska, and then also going really fast to capture the real work that they're doing. So we were alongside the teams, witnessing and documenting the work that they were actually doing.
And is this on TV? Is it streaming? Where can we see this?
It's still in development, so that just
Okay.
happened. And so
Okay.
I'm still working on it. So stay tuned.
And where were you staying when you were there? Were you staying in one of the houses
Um, just staying in the city in
in the
Anchorage.
city? Okay, so you say, so the military goes there. So is it because these people are so remote in remote villages, or are they in the are they in Anchorage?
Remote, so it's really all over.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable, like the effort that the military goes and all the training that they go into to be able to navigate, the weather and the snow and the conditions. And a lot of villages are in very hard to reach areas, especially in winter. There's no roads, like you have to use a helicopter to get into a lot of different areas, or planes. So it's kind of
That,
amazing the stuff they have to navigate up
that's
there.
That's incredible. So you just got back on another excursion. Where were you, and how did you make it through? It was also another difficult one, but tell us what you were shooting, and if we'll be able to see it, or where we'll be able to see it, and tell us about your experience.
That was actually in the Arctic. So I was in an island called Svalbard, which is part of Norway. And I was on a sailboat for 2 weeks and we were circumventing the island. And I was with a company called the Great Expedition Company, and they put together these amazing experiences that are kind of once in a lifetime experiences. And I was helping them kind of pull together their branding and their messaging and how to tell their story and their impact and what they're actually doing out there and the meaning behind it all. And of course, I got to bring my camera and document a lot of it too. So it was a cool way to put it all together.
So you were on a sailboat. Was it freezing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the Arctic, it's cold, but if you have the right gear, you're
Right.
fine.
You would like to be in a bigger ship, maybe that was but a sailboat. So tell us, tell me about branding. We know what branding is, but tell us about using this as an example. How do you, where do you start? Are there components to what you were doing? Let's use this as as an example of what are you trying to do? How are you trying to get the message? What are you seeking for when you're out there? And do the clients tell you this is what I'm trying to do, and then you put it together? So outline a branding strategy for us.
A lot of it at first, I think, is I'm oftentimes people are so close to their own brand that they forget their own power. And so a lot of it is just witnessing and listening and having a true sense of what their goals are, their true purpose, their true why behind what the work they're doing, why they're doing the work that they're doing. And pulling that storyline through. I think sometimes it's easy to kind of get caught up in like the traditional messaging or the standard, this is what we should say, and forget like those little hooks and deeper meaning behind your brand that makes it so unique and how to actually pull that story through. And so what I try to do is really help them figure out what makes you so unique, because they all have their own story and it will connect with the right audience. And so really a lot of listening at first, and then pulling out that storyline and then building that into something more lasting. And because I've worked with so many legacy brands, I've learned the importance of building trust and emotional connection, and having that clarity of message and the true power of a real community and what that can bring to a brand. It was very obvious in music, but it's transferable to any industry, especially now in the age of like AI coming out and everything. Like community is really, I'm seeing like as the way to continue your brand legacy and build something that's lasting. So those are really kind of the high level points. And then coming up with a strategy to support, like how do you make it happen in a very tactical, strategic systems way, which is not as fun, but they work. So you have to add them too.
So what, give us a preview, or give us a visual of whether it was one you were there for quite a while, but of one of the segments that you created, and how it came to you. How does it, I mean, we think we know, but then how do you come up with something interesting? To where does it come from in you? How do you come up with that?
It's really a collaboration. And it's an allowing. It's not I don't know better, like I don't know best, right? It's not me coming in being like, you need to do X, Y, or Z. It's let's explore this together and understand and really feature it. It's actually interesting. It's very similar to photography too. Like when I go into a space, I allow the space to show me its beauty, and that's what I capture. And I'm looking for something amazing. And if I'm looking for it, I'll find it. If I'm looking for something, bad, I'll find that too. But it's really a collaboration between me and the brand or the person, in trying to come up with what is that through line. And it's interesting, just even some of the biggest brands, like they might not dial in on their core message. Um, trying to think of an example would be one. I worked with a nonprofit who was like a key example of what rewilding could be for the world. And yet they were really focused in on like their niche and their own country and their specific area and their programs. And it was finding a way to, how do we dial that message so it's interesting and applicable globally so that more people can learn from that experience and apply it elsewhere and their message can grow globally. And that was really a bigger project that we got to work on together.
So it sounds like you help people get that aha moment. You're having a conversation, you're spending time intimately with someone or with a group of people for a period of time. And then as you listen to them, it all of a sudden, they say it maybe, but you capture and that's it. Is that a little bit what I'm seeing, what I'm understanding?
That is a big element of it. And reminding them that aha moment matters. I think sometimes too, brands they might be working and doing and really getting into the details of the doing and forgetting the impact or the why or the purpose that they're doing all of that. And if you're trying to build community and bring people on board, you need to sell the purpose, you need to sell the why and the heart and the human side of it. And that's really what I help them draw out.
So for this company, when you were out at sea, out at sea, it sounds like maybe for this company, it was about community coming together and going on this journey together and building memories. Am I kind of close?
A big element of it, and addition and
Right.
adventure
Yes.
and very unique experience. Like it's not a typical thing that, is available. And so there's a lot of amazing things to highlight with
So
that company.
were you shooting or were you directing another photographer or camera?
I did get to shoot, so I did bring my gear, and that was an amazing. I mean, the Arctic, it,
Oh my.
it just has so many
Yeah,
photographic.
tell us what you saw. Tell us a few things that you saw that were of interest that we might not realize since we haven't been there, if we haven't been there.
Oh goodness. I mean, the glaciers, just nature itself, everywhere you look is stunning. We did get the opportunity to see polar bear, a mama and her two cubs. It was just
Oh,
amazing. Yeah.
that's incredible. Okay, let's go on to some other legacy brands. Name some of the other legacy brands that you've worked with and maybe one or two of your favorite brand strategies you created for those brands.
Sure. I guess one that comes to mind was just being able to work alongside NASA and kind of tell their story and work with astronaut and cosmonaut Scott Kelly. He was
Wow.
up actually in space doing a 1 year mission where they did a huge 1 year study where he was up in space and they're trying to understand what would happen to the human body while he was up there. And we just so happened to have a concert in Egypt. And so we did a collaboration with the Egyptian government, with Yanni, and with NASA to kind of pull all their unique messaging together to amplify something greater. And astronaut Scott Kelly dialed into our show in Egypt and did a live link and was like, "Hi, Yanni. Hi, Egypt. Like, I can, concur. There are no lines on the map from above. We are living on this beautiful planet that we call Mother Earth. Like, let's honor her." And he gave this amazing message. And it was Egypt's first time that they ever heard their name from space. And so
Wow.
it was a really big deal for the locals. And whenever I get to work on such a massive project or a project of that scale, where you can pull in different organizations and amplify all their messages in a really meaningful way, like that's like my favorite thing in the world. Like I can't imagine anything better than to help companies like that who are out there making an impact do even more.
That's incredible. What an incredible experience for you. You've had some amazing experiences. We'll go into more legacy brands in a minute, but so you photography was because your dad gave you this manual camera and then you used it in the business helping him. How did you get your first, well, I guess it was you did NASA when you were still working with your father. So you started to get your foot in the door of these legacy brands. How did you, if you remember some of the jobs that you got now that you're an amazing photographer, how did you get those early on jobs when it didn't have anything to do with your father's company and you producing all those shows? Something that was apart from that.
Yeah, I think that I, somehow they just started finding me. I think that's why I said at the beginning, photography found me. I imagined after I got off the tour that photography would go away. And I just, okay, like it's a hobby, it's something that I love. And I just never imagined that it would turn into what it's still evolving into. And so
Incredible.
I just feel really fortunate because, I think through just establishing relationships and people, you know, yeah, they just continue to reach out and it keeps building on itself. And I keep saying yes. So
That's
it's,
incredible. Well, the message here is, if you have a hobby and you're enjoying it and working on it, it's possible that it turns into something bigger if you keep doing it. You can still do a side job while you're enjoying your hobby, and it could turn into something. I mean, it was a little, you were already in it and you had great content, so it really helped. But I mean, you're an amazing photographer. It's to go from almost a hobby into, not even a hobby. It was, well, kind of, it was, you got forced to have, here's your camera now, figure it out. And you did. It's incredible. So tell us some of the other legacy brands that, I mean, the NASA one is incredible. Do you have others that really have a special place in your heart and it was fun to do?
think the other one that, I mean, so many, I did have the opportunity to work with Boeing and their test pilots. And so I think one cool thing, one of the many amazing things about photography is you really get a chance to just be amongst greatness and witness these people doing, working at their best and giving their all. And in that environment, it just being able to show what they're doing and tell their story. And I was just I felt so honored. So
That's incredible. Do you have a favorite? You can give me three because you probably have a lot of favorite places in the world because you've been to 60 countries. Do you have a top three favorite places that you loved and you'd like to go back to? Or you don't even have to go back to them, but if you loved them so much because it just had such an imprint in your life.
yeah, it's like you can't really choose. They're all so
I
different,
know. Exactly.
meaningful. Yeah, I don't know that I can choose because I've just established great, such a great connection with a lot of those different places that
Right.
they're just meaningful in different ways.
So where would you like to go on your next vacation?
Where would I?
Vacation, not work, but vacation. Do you have a place that you'd like to go on vacation? So totally aside from, all the beautiful places and people and cultures, just somewhere on a relaxing side, or maybe you want to travel and you don't want to relax.
I mean, all the above, but my hometown of Greece, I mean, that is
Mm,
like heaven. Like that's a place I would always love to go back to. Just, yeah, I think anywhere in Greece is just,
and
um,
where in Greece are you from?
my family's from Kalamata, so where all the Kalamata olives are
I
from.
was just gonna say it sounds like the olive town.
Mhm.
Any other legacy brands you want to highlight before we jump into your more daily routine and your book?
Goodness, I mean, nothing, I mean, there's so many. I've just had the opportunity to, I think we touched on a lot of it
Yes.
already.
Amazing, amazing content. So tell us what would you tell your 25-year-old self now that you are so successful now and you're enjoying not only successful, but you're enjoying what you're doing so much? What would you tell your 25-year-old self when you're just starting out?
Mm, just keep doing it and don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I think in the beginning, I was always so afraid of making mistakes. And the thing is you're going to make mistakes, and it's okay. That's part of learning. And if you're not making mistakes, then you're not trying hard enough. So I
That's
think
excellent.
that would be a big element of it. It's just like, go try.
Yes, excellent advice. So you are writing a book and working with our friend Ellie. Can you share a little bit about your book and what you're writing on?
Well, it's definitely too early to say much about it, but what I will share about it is that I started putting together a photography book. Just, you know, I was asked a lot, and I just thought it was so sweet that people were asking. So I started putting together this, collection of images. And then as I was writing, or as I was putting it together, I just started recognizing that there's so much more behind the image, and it's really the story that gives the image even more meaning and more value. And so as I was writing out the stories, it just really has started to evolve into much more than I could have imagined.
Absolutely. Well, I think you have to do two books. One, you have to do your photography book and get it out there so we can have that. And then, yes, the deeper version. I definitely, yes, I agree. I mean, just like your lion story, that's not just a lion. I mean, it's a living, breathing, amazing connection that you have. And I totally believe you guys locked eyes and had a connection. You felt, I totally
I
believe that.
felt it.
Oh, I know you did. I absolutely know that feeling. So let's go to your morning routine. What does your morning routine look like? And do you have one?
I do actually. I try to keep it very simple, but I guess in the mornings I always have my coffee, and I always have my time with my dog. I have quiet time, and I always like to learn something. So I take 30 minutes to an hour to either read or learn, or, you know, learn something. So that's the way I like to start my day.
I love it. I love it. So how could people get a hold of you?
My website, crystaland.com, or Instagram. I'm fairly active on there, even though I don't post as much as I should.
I know. I'm waiting for more. Post five favorite photos from these past journeys. I don't think you have anything up right now.
You're right, I don't.
Get it up there. And it's
Okay.
Krystal, and spell your name because it's not like most people would say,
Yes, Crystalan, KRYSTALAN.com.
Thank you. Well, today has been incredible. You are just so talented, and I am going to hit you up for just a few little lessons on how, with a manual camera, and hopefully I could at least take a little better photos, just even if it's not as amazing as yours. But I would love a lesson. And of course, to continue the conversation, this was just incredible. And I just want to thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And yes, you can be a great photographer. I'm sure you already are. You're an artist in your own right. So you have your own
Well,
vision.
thank you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day.
Next week, please join us Thursdays, 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.
Tune in each week for another episode of Mastering the Art of Success with host Debbi DiMaggio. Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern. Real stories, real strategies, real success.